The reason why you haven't made progress is because you ain't serious about it. Cool. Like, I've already signed up to die. I would rather die than not pursue. So like all of those become tiny dangers. It's like, okay, it's dangerous, but like.
So can you tell us who you are?
Who am I? That's a good question. Who am I? I don't know. My name is Dee. I don't know where you want to take it from there. I mean, I could. There's so many things I could say about myself. Like, I hold a private pilot's license at the moment, and I'm on the pathway to becoming an airline pilot. So, yeah, right now I've got a private license, which means I can fly for fun, basically, with friends, family. Once I do some more hours and do some more exams, then I get a commercial license, then I can kind of build up to actually getting paid to fly. So, yeah, that's where I'm at the moment. I can't remember a time where I didn't want to be a pilot. So just being a kid, I remember like having one of those models, like inflatable one, and having that in the home. And then, yeah, I remember a time when I was actually going on a holiday, and I must have loved flying by that time, and my mum must have known it. Because literally, you walk through the gates, hello sir, da 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 da, and my mum was like, come this way. I was like, what's going on? And then we actually went into the flight deck, and I got to meet the pilots. This is before like 9/11 probably, when it wasn't like super locked. So yeah, I got to meet the pilots, got to sit in their seat, like wear the hat and everything. And yeah, I just remember that moment, and it's that moment. I don't think that's what sparked me to love flying. I think that moment happened because I already loved flying. Do you see what I'm saying? I think my mum saw that, so she was like, oh, okay, like what should I do to like, since he's so into this. But I always loved being in a plane, taking off, and also landing. So when you land, there's like these things called reverse thrust, right? And so like as it's kind of decelerating, you get a lot of vibration. And to me, that was like, ooh, are we taking off again? Like, is there another holiday? Like, let's go, kind of thing. So it wasn't even like where we were going. That was the enjoyable part. It's like the in-between of actually being in the plane, of taking off, landing, seeing those lines on like the runway, like the black and white lines, which show the threshold. So yeah, for me that was the exciting part, just being able to see that. And then most people who've known me from like being a kid always knew that I wanted to be a pilot. That's the first thing I probably said I wanted to be. And over time I had to park it for a little while, but I'm grateful that it's kind of come full circle. And those people who knew me, like mostly my family, my cousins, kind of have seen me go from just talking about it when I was a kid to actually doing it as an adult. So yeah, I'm very grateful.
Funding seems to be the big talk about pilots and is the biggest hindrance, I would say. So has that been the case for you, and how have you worked through that?
So that is the common story that not everybody, but majority of people have, is that it's too expensive. And my journey of that is, after college, I went to a university open day. And I was like, okay, cool, you do this training, like aviation with pilot studies, you come up with your license at the end of it. So I was like, all right, cool. I'm thinking student finance will cover that. All right. No, sir, it's not covered by student finance. You have to fund your own training. Okay. How much is it? Tens of thousands. All right. I'm like just turned 18 probably. By that point I'd been working, but not that kind of money, obviously. Well, if I had that kind of money, yeah, I would have done it from then. But yeah, like that kind of money just was so distant. And I joined that band that sings the song that, like, it's too expensive. And that was my thing. It's too expensive. So, all right, what shall I do in the meantime? I can't do that course. Let me use my other talents. So I went into like dancing, teaching dance, performing. And then I remember having this conversation with a friend of mine. His name is Ellis. Tragically, this conversation happened at my college teacher's funeral. So he used to be my dance tutor at college. And he taught me, he taught Ellis, he taught my friend, she's my friend, how have I forgotten my name?
She's going to be upset.
Do you know what? That goes to show I haven't spoken to her in years. But yeah, so our college teacher passed away suddenly, and we ended up at his funeral, and we were just kind of catching up loosely because we had that's her name, Lucy. I knew it'd come back to me. And we were just catching up. It's like, oh, what are you up to? I'm like, yeah, I've been doing dancing, but I'm working with kids and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm in a school. It's like, well, I really want to be a pilot. I've always wanted to do it, but, you know, the money. And like Lucy is like doing dance. She's got her dance school, like really like pushing, one of the most hardworking people I know. And Ellis is in like some kind of business in a suit, whatever, looking good. And I'm like, yeah, I want to be a pilot, but you know, I don't really have the money. And he was like looking at me, he was like, money is not the problem. I was like, what do you mean? Like, that's what everyone knows, like it's expensive. Money, what do you mean money is not the problem? So, and he had this intense look and was like, money is not your problem. Like somebody like you, money is like the least of your problems. Anyways, that was a seed, let it germinate. I then happened to be watching this program, this documentary called Free Solo. I don't know if you've seen it. So basically, there's this guy called Alex Honnold, and he's basically working on climbing this like cliff, rock, whatever. And he climbs without any rope. And it's like 3,000 feet high, right? And the documentary is kind of following his journey of how he's trying to accomplish that dream. Anyways, part of his story, just a side note, one of the scenes is like him in his van, like sweeping. And he was talking about how he used to sleep in his van, like when his dad died, he was like maybe 18. He used his inheritance money to buy this van, and how he used to sleep outside of like Walmart. He would park it, sleep there. And he was sweeping, blah, 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 stretching. And in the like course of the documentary, he actually buys a house with his girlfriend, right? But it kind of catches him in that transition period. And I was just like, because I love documentaries, I love watching people do extraordinary things, right? So I was watching, like, oh, he's climbing this like 33,000 foot cliff with no ropes. Like he's basically pursuing what he wants to do, right? But funny enough, at the same time, I was working two jobs. I was working in a school, I was working in a pizza place. And I lost the pizza place job because there was new management and they were just acting all funny. Then I remember like looking at my spreadsheet and I'm like, man, like I'm literally like 100 or so below my expenditures at the moment, right? With one job working in the school. So I was like, oh man, like I'm gonna turn 30 in like a year and a bit. Then you start reviewing your life. I'm like, I've always had this dream of becoming a pilot and I've never been able to do it. Probably the seed of what Ellis said to me is in the back of my head. Yeah, so then I was thinking, okay, I'm nearly like £100 deficit on my spreadsheet. Then I'm thinking, but I also have this dream. And at the time I got the job at the school that's near Heathrow. So I could see planes take off, land all the time. And I was like, looking at them, just thinking, man, I should be on there. I should be there. Like, look at that plane land, man. Imagine what it'd be like to land in Heathrow. So then I was like, I remember thinking like, oh man, like if I had like a couple of £100 a month, like just £200, I wish I had just £200 extra a month, then I'll do like one flying lesson a month. At least that's something. And then I remembered like, wait, when I had the 2 jobs at the end of the month, like just before payday, had like a easy £700. Why did you not do flying then? Then I was like, okay, so it's not about the money. So Ellis was right. It's not about the money, it's about the mindset, right? Because when I had the money, but I kept on repeating that same mental song of like, it's too expensive. So even when I had the money and I didn't do it. So then when I didn't have the money, I was like, I wish I had the money, but I already had the money. So then I was like, do you know what? Say less. I already seen Alex Honnold do it. I started researching. I was like, do you know what? At the moment, I'm paying $525 for my accommodation. I was like, I've got a car that I bought a few months ago. How about if I stop paying rent and start living in my car? Then I'm gonna have £500, okay, minus maybe 100 and some for the costs. At least £300 to £400 I can put towards flying. I was like, okay, let's go. Started calling people, called my family. I was like, yeah, I'm thinking of living in my car because like, I've had this dream and I just haven't done anything. Like I need to do something. They're like, bro, why are you crazy? Started calling my friends. I was like, I had this idea. Started researching on YouTube, living in your car. It's like 24-hour gym. Make sure you got 24-hour gym because that's how you're gonna like, where you're gonna go to shower, use your toilet, all of that. Like set yourself up. This is the stuff you need to get. Like, okay, I'm like, okay, cool. Start buying stuff. So February 29th, 2020, I left where I was living and started living in my car.
The car you currently have?
Yes.
Oh goodness.
That's crazy. 2-seater. I was like, I'm gonna do this, right? My family had an intervention for me. They were like, bro, like you can't move forward by shrinking, like you have to grow into greatness. Like I've got a family that can wax lyrical, bro. Like everyone could like do motivational speaking. Do you know what I mean? So it's like the amount of theories I had thrown my way. It's like, bro, like you've got all these talents, you need to be using it, like not like shrinking, you can't shrink into greatness, blah, blah, blah. I was like, I'm doing it because I know it's about mindset, right? And one of the things I realized is that people who are comfortable have no reason to move. As long as I'm sitting comfortably here, there's no reason for me to move. Get up to go somewhere. If I need the toilet, I become really uncomfortable to the point where I'm like, guys, wait, and I have to go. So yeah, made that decision to basically live in my car, put money towards flying. Started a YouTube channel, put myself on Instagram, called myself Future Pilot. Started telling my story. And that's how I kind of got started in flight training. So coming back to your question, very long answer to your question. So the question is funding, aviation, how did I navigate that? That's one of the ways, that's how I got started. Along the way, I've been able to, thankfully, I was able to raise money. I was able to get a scholarship. Those are like two separate stories. What I have discovered throughout my journey is that money is not a hindrance. And a message that I tell a lot of people is that you don't need money. Money is an intermediary. What you need is resources, right? We use money to pay for resources. but you don't need the money. So if I had a plane and I said, you can fly with me, you don't have to buy the plane, right? So you need resources. Now, and the best resource, this is something I got from Tony Robbins. The most important, the best resource is resourcefulness. That's the most important thing. Because I could give you money now, like people who win the lottery, they can have the money and be in like incredible debt within a year. Because you have the resource, but you don't have resourcefulness. Whereas you can have no money, but if you're resourceful, you can find the money. But a lot of people are not serious enough about flying. They're not serious enough about achieving their dream, and they want to put it down to money, but it's not money. And that's what I had to face in myself. I was like, do you know what, actually, I'm not serious enough, because I remember when I was like 18, tried to do like this mini fundraiser, like telling my family, oh, like, I've gone to this place, I have to pay for it, like, can you give me, I probably got like £5, £10 here. Bro, where is that money now? I probably bought chips and chicken with that money. I probably like, do you know what I mean? Like, I wasn't serious. Compared to when I was living in my car, when I ended up at my cousin's house for like Christmas, and my uncle's there and they're all giving each other gifts, and I'm like, I wasn't expecting to be here. It's like, I'm just like a guest. Like, you guys do your thing, don't mind me. Like, I'm just here to like enjoy the day with you guys. My cousin, he was like, how old? 21 at the time? They're twins, so there's two of them, 20, 21. Anyways, they exchange cards, they exchange money, everyone gets gifts. My cousin says, I know how much becoming a pilot means to you, here's £15. Then his brother goes, do you know what, here's another £10. I took that money, put it in an envelope, kept it for months, until the day when I was trying to like get my first solo done. I brought it out of the envelope, I paid it straight to the guys here for my training. That's the difference of mindset. You see what I'm saying? So for me, I had to actually accept that, do you know what? The reason why you haven't made progress is because you ain't serious about it. Cool. Now let's get serious. So that's my message to people who haven't got that, because I tell people, like, you can start, if you're willing to sacrifice your pride, bro, do you, like, I come, bro, I'm Congolese, right? You know what we like. Yeah? Like, bro, I come from the kind of family who are amazing, but there's a side to us that we have to look a certain way, right? So we might not be able to afford that Merc, but we'll drive the Merc. Do you know what I mean? We might not, but we'll look like it. There might be like, not as much money in the bank, but we look like it. And there's this kind of like appearance, right? Which there's good sides to it. But to be able to kind of make it public that I'm living in my car. Like, here's everything I own in one boot. And have that, that is all sorts of like humbling. Do you know what I'm saying? And so I say to people, like, you can make progress in your flight training without money. First of all, if you're willing to be humble. There's nothing stopping you, one, because money is a form of currency. Your faith is a form of currency. Like the fact that you, like, I thought, do you know, I'm going to become a pilot now. Nothing's gonna, like, I'm gonna have to die before I stop. Like, that's how it's, like, you're gonna have to, like, life is gonna have to kill me for me to stop this journey. That's how serious I got, right? And so when my brother's telling me, like, oh, what about when you're living in your car? What if you have a fight with somebody and they know that you're in your car and they come and they bust your car up? Like, I've already signed up to die. I would rather die than not pursue. So like, all of those become tiny dangers. It's like, okay, it's dangerous, but like, in the scheme of things, like, I don't care. I'm past that, you know? So money is currency, your faith is currency, your story is currency. If you think about people doing fundraisers, what are they doing? Telling a story. If you think about businesses, what are they doing to raise that money? Telling a story. They're telling a story. And if you tell your story, then that can be a way that you're being resourceful, right? Or the other thing where you can be resourceful is by making use of relationships. So for example, I tell people you can get started flight training without money. How? One, there's plenty of flying lessons on YouTube. So if you wanted it that bad, you could go on YouTube, watch, at least if you can't afford it, you can watch it. It doesn't cost you anything. But if you're gonna bypass the things that are free, then you must not want it. And then that's fine, just accept you don't want it. But you've got that, that's the first thing. Secondly, what can you do? Be serious about it first, show people you're serious about it, and then ask people to help you. Because like, I met a few pilots a few weeks ago, and I was telling them exactly this idea, and he was like, actually that makes sense. Because they probably have a whole ton of equipment, books that they don't need anymore, that they needed at this level, but at the airline level, they don't need it. So if you were to say to them, look, I'm so serious about becoming a pilot, look, this is what I'm sacrificing, and I was just asking, like, do you have any old equipment that you might not need that I could, you know? They would do that. So I would ask that person who's saying flying is too expensive, have you tried that? Because that's not gonna cost you money. And I bet you, people, like, I've got extra equipment I'll be willing to give if there was somebody serious who asked for it, right? Because people wanna know that their contribution is making a difference. They don't wanna contribute where it's gonna be wasted, right? So yeah, money is not the problem, man. Money is not the problem. And so for my 30th birthday in 2021, I did that, like, this 2-month fundraiser push, but I made sure for like at least the 6 months before, every week I was posting, this is me flying, this is me in my car, this is me flying, this is me in my car, this is me, like, do you know what I mean? Like, showing people that actually this guy's serious. And then when I did the fundraiser, I had like people I didn't know apart from Instagram. £30 here, £30 there. Like my cousins from like Sweden, £50 in the pot. My aunt who I slept on her couch for like 2 years, and she saw me put the work in. She saw me wake up, go to work, come back, sit in front of the computer, flight simming, like editing videos, blah, blah, blah. She's like, put £500 down. That person, like my friend, like who I used to like talk to all the time, like we used to like hold each other accountable, like to achieve our goals. Boom, he put down £180. He was like, enough for 1 hour's flight. Boom, £180. Why? Because they saw that I was serious. And so they know that their contribution is gonna go far, right? So I raised about £1,200. And then I added like £500, and then I was able to go like first solo around about my birthday time, like literally 3-4 days after my birthday, same week, right? So yeah, man. So when I say like your story is a resource, your faith is a resource, your relationships are a resource, that's what I mean. But you have to demonstrate that you're serious. And for me, living in my car was about demonstrating to myself, first and foremost, that I was serious. So there's other things I could have probably done, but it would have been too comfortable. And I wouldn't really show myself how bad I want it. But I think in doing that, I convinced myself, like, okay, dude, like, you're actually in this. Like, you actually want, okay, cool. Like, I can work with that. And then that's what other people think. You're serious about this, I can work with that. I'll support you. I had a friend who was training around the same time as me, but he had to quit. And he was like, dude, here's all my equipment, my charts, blah, 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 all these stuff that I've got, books, blah, 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 here you go, boom. At least a few hundred. And that's why I say to people, future problems have future solutions. Because sometimes it's like walking in the fog. I remember one time I came in here and it was super foggy. And the thing is, in the fog, you can't see, depending on how thick it is. Let's say you can see 10 meters forward. All right, but what we do is we go, no, I want to see all the way to the end. Like, I want to see exactly how that dream is going to be accomplished all the way. I need to know, like, I've got the money in my account right now, and then I can go because I know I've got all the money right now. No. You can see 10 meters, advance 10 meters. By the time you advance 10 meters, you can see the next 10 meters. Advance the next 10 meters. You see the next 10 meters. You advance the next 10 meters. Before you know it, you're 1 kilometer away from where you started. And that's why I tell people, like, you don't need to know how it's going to end. You need to know what you want and just take the next step. Take the next step. Because I didn't, like, now I've got a private license. I didn't know how I would get here, but I knew you'd have to kill me before stopping me getting here. Like, that's all I knew. How are you going to do it? I don't know. Like, even living in my car, like, that money that I was putting into it, it wasn't enough. So then I had to get a scholarship. So I'll tell you a bit more about the scholarship. So I got my scholarship from the Honourable Company of Air Pilots. When I first decided that I wanted to take flying seriously 2019 times, applied for it, nothing happened. Didn't get past the first stage. 2020, applied for it, cancelled because of COVID. 2021, applied for it, didn't get past the first stage. I'm like, none of your applicants are even living in their car. How are you not giving me a scholarship? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, but cool, keep on going. 2022 applied, didn't get past the first stage. Should I even bother applying? Are they going to take somebody like me? Like, do they prefer younger people? At that point, I'm like 31-ish, like 31, 32. They're like, okay, is there any point applying still? My grades are not that great. They're pretty average, like coming out of school. College grades, even worse. I didn't have a vision. I didn't have commitment. So it's like, it's not representative of what I can do. So it's like, I had to keep going to actually show them that I'm capable of more than what my grades say. So then 2022, I applied for it, got past the first stage, second stage, and ended up getting the scholarship. But at that point, you need at least 45 hours for the private license. At that point, I was about 33 hours. You need to do 9 theory exams. I'd done all of them. So I had to like push myself forward almost right to the end before the scholarship help actually came in. Do you see what I'm saying? And that's why I say to people, like, if I stayed at the beginning, I don't think I would have ever got the scholarship. Because I seem like a higher risk, like average grades, or should I take this other person who's got like really high grades? Who do I pick? But if it's like average grades, but incredible commitment, has done most of the hours, and all he needs is a little bit at the end. Okay, let's just give it to him, right? So that's how I ended up getting the scholarship. But it came at the right time because the last part of your training, you've got longer flights, which means about 180, 190 pounds an hour. Before I could do like 190, wait until the next month, 190, wait until, but at the end, you have to do them back to back. So I think one day I paid like 500-600 pounds in one day. Because I would do like a long flight with my instructor, come back, and then they send me solo and come back. Because towards the end, it's now about flying from one place to the next, from one airfield to the next. Before, you're like flying just around here, practicing, and you come back. But the amazing thing is, with this scholarship, it's basically people who sponsor, right? They put their money down, whether it's an organization or individuals, they put their money, and then the company does all the selection process, right? So the guy that sponsored me is an A380 captain. So the A380 is the largest passenger airliner. It's the double decker. right? The one where it's double for some of it, and then the back of it is just single, that's a 747. That's a Boeing. But the Airbus A380 is the double all the way through. And he's a A380 captain, black man from Hackney. So he actually wanted to help, because the conversation I had with him, he said, like, because of his experience, he's aware that actually people can look average, but actually be exceptional. And that's what he wants to find, exceptional people from average looking backgrounds. Because when he went to school was like, here's the book, like, learn it, get through the test. And he managed to get, for example, a C. Now, when you go to like an airline, they'll be like, you got a C at school. Like, other people are getting A's, A stars. But it's like, yeah, but under what circumstance did I get the C? Like, I got a C with just being handed the book. But if I had proper teaching, I would have done a lot better. But from my background, that wasn't an option. And it's only once he like went, I think, to university or whatever, it was like, wow, you actually get taught? I never had that. And then he gave me another example. Like, say somebody is a carer for their parents, right? And they ended up getting a C. But they go home and take care of their parents. But you look at that C and think, oh, this is just a C student. It's like, no. Like, they're a C student under the circumstances. So actually they're pretty exceptional, because at the same time they're carrying their family and getting the C. But if they didn't have to carry the family and they were just like studying and they had a good teacher, they would have probably got better than a C, right? So it's about finding those exceptional people in those average looking circumstances. So that's what he's about, that's his background. And he actually went to the air pilots and said, here's my money, like, find me somebody like that. And every year, I think I was the 5th one that he sponsored, because every year he puts his own personal money down, you know? So yeah, I'm very grateful, man. I'm very grateful. So that's how the scholarship came about. And for me, the best part of the scholarship has not even been like the money itself, but it's been being within the aviation community. Because there's so many, like right now, if I had an issue, if I needed advice, I could call somebody like that. And a lot of the time, the killer, the dream killer, is isolation. That's why sometimes I used to just drive up to like this airfield, just be around, right? Because humans are adaptable. If you want to learn to hold your breath, what do you need to do? Correct. If you want to learn to dance, what do you do? Dance. Whatever you want to do, you need to put yourself in that situation and allow yourself to adapt. The more you're underwater, the more you will hold your breath underwater. The more you're flying, the more you will change how your finances work, how your spending habits are, blah, 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 to actually be able to afford it. But if you don't put yourself from there and you keep on just staying outside and saying, I can't do it, well, you can't adapt to something you're not in, right? So for me, it's like what really changed, which I'm so happy I did, was at the beginning of my journey, I was like, Instagram, forget my old Instagram, this is going to be Instagram just for aviation. And I'm going to connect with other pilots, other student pilots, tell my story, boom. I met so many people that have helped me just through Instagram, because I told my story, showed my journey, and just connected with them. And then the scholarship brought me into an even bigger community of like pilots, student pilots, people who are like captains at like huge airlines, who I like meet every now and then, like get to chat, they know me, do you see what I'm saying? They know what I'm like. And if opportunity comes, who do you think they're going to be supporting? But if you're not even there, no one can notice you. That's why you're not getting the help, you know? So yeah, I'm not the type of person to have regrets, but if I have one regret, the closest thing I have to regret is that I didn't put myself in the environment sooner. That's the only regret.
So we're gonna go in this direction. So, of course, you've been flying for a while now. What do you think was the biggest obstacle, absent of money?
I can't find a better answer than mindset. That's the biggest struggle. And now I'm in the position where I'm kind of mentoring a few other kind of student pilots through their journey. And I see some of the issues that they come up with. I'm like, that's not an issue. Like, because I've been through it now. Things like, you know, there's a lot of issues to navigate where it's like not a good relationship with your flight instructor. How do you manage that? Or not having the right information and having to look for information. And that's one of the hardest things for people who want to get into aviation. It's just finding the right information, because there's so much information out there. And it's like just finding the bit that you need right now can be really overwhelming in the sea of information. So with that, connections help, because then you can speak to somebody and they can just tell you like, this is what you need, A, B, right now. So, oh, cool, thanks. Like, you've just saved me so much time and energy trying to figure it all out. So there's been multiple issues, many issues along the way. But I think the toughest part is having the mentality to see a way through. Because, like, you know, there's so many opportunities to give up. There's so many opportunities to be discouraged. Sometimes, you know, like for me, there's times when I've really struggled with my landing. But again, that's a mindset thing. It's like, yeah, I'm struggling with the landing, but how am I processing that? Am I processing that like, oh, see, so I'll never be as good as them. See, I can't make it. As soon as you do that, you're down. So for me, it's like, especially being a perfectionist, I want to hit the ground running. Like, I want to be like perfect before I'm even taught how to do it. And that doesn't even make sense. How can you be perfect at something you've never been taught how to do? But that's my perfectionist mindset. So it's like, this journey has kind of taught me a lot about humility and just being able to go, do you know what? It's okay for me to be rubbish. I won't be rubbish forever. I won't be trash forever. But I'll start off as trash and I won't allow myself to be embarrassed by that. So on social media, you'll find a number of videos of me messing up. In fact, to some point where I think, do you know what, am I putting up too much of these? Because people might think I actually don't know how to fly. Because like every video I see is messing up. So like, can he actually fly? But it's amazing because I opened myself like that, like for example, radio calls, being able to make like good radio calls. I was struggling with that, posted a video of me like messing up. And then somebody was like, why aren't you writing the information down? I was like, write it down? Like, don't you have a knee board? Knee board? What's a knee board? Dude, let me send you a link. Here's a link, get yourself a knee board. I was like, all right. Got myself a knee board, sat down there. Next radio call, wrote it down, perfect delivery. So, oh, cool. So because I was willing to make myself vulnerable, I actually got the advice that I needed that made a difference. But if you hide it, right, you're gonna struggle on your own. Isolation is a dream killer. I'd say the mindset is the hardest thing, man. Like, even to the point of like motion sickness. So, yeah, I would sit on a swing and just feel sick. And so in a plane, you can imagine like some student pilots go through like this motion sickness to the point where some people think like, is flying for me? And sometimes people quit, right? not realizing that they just need to push through. Because I was working in a school and I had a kid that was struggling to be in class, and he loved going out to the swing. So every day when I went to the swing, I sat on the swings as well. Where some people might just stand there, watch the kid or whatever. I was like, no, you sit on the swing, I'll sit on the swing every day. I'd still keep swinging. Until one day, it's like, I'd sit on the swing and I'd be fine. As a kid, I was always fine. But then you grow up and biology changes. And then suddenly I started feeling sick. But sitting on that swing every day. And so I think it's not necessarily about the issues you face, but whether you're committed. We waste a lot of energy asking ourselves whether we're committed. Oh, I don't know how I'm gonna afford flying next month. Is flying for me? Maybe I can't, like, energy wasted. That same energy, you could be thinking, okay, what do I need to move around? When's the next one I can do? Okay, the next one I can do is in 2 months. Okay, how can I prepare for it? Knowing that it's 2 months out. What can I do in between? Like, that's where your energy should be going. But if you're not committed, you end up wasting energy on these other things. And I think what helped me through, and why I can't really say I've had any challenge, any significant challenge, not because they haven't been there, but because I had commitment. It was just like, all right, I just need to get by it. Okay, I can't afford next month, that's fine. I'll go the month after. So what do I need to prepare to do that? And that's why I started filming my lessons right from the beginning, because I was like, when I'm not flying, I can watch my lessons. I can evaluate myself. I can like look back and be like, oh, you struggled with this. Make sure you remember that for the next lesson. Before the next lesson, a month, 2 months later, I'll watch back. So I come into the lesson knowing what I'd learned previously. Whereas some people come in, they've already forgotten what they learned last time. See what I'm saying? So I think the number one thing is commitment, no matter what. You know, and as a pilot, when you're flying an aircraft, the winds are going to be different. The runway that you land on might be different. The procedures for entering might be different. You might have an emergency in the air, right? The one thing you need to do is fly the plane. Fully committed to flying that plane, to make it, to actively make it happen. This is what I ran into American Airlines 777 captain, and he just reinforced everything I was thinking. He said to me, like, there's two types of people in life. Those that watch things happen and those that make things happen. You cannot be a pilot and be the type of person that watches things happen. Because if there's an emergency on the aircraft, who's gonna help you? Like, you're in charge. You have to make it happen. And so, navigating problems is an everyday thing. Like, it's a standard. And there's no problem that can't be navigated. Do you see what I'm saying? As long as you commit. Yeah. That's it, man.